This is Jess. Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. And I am with a real legend. Guys, I am with, well, first of all, welcome to the LGBT community.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Guys, I am with T.Kyle. He's the co-creator of Britney podcast. It's Britney Bitch, one of my new favorite podcasts over the last year and a half, Legends Only with Bradley Stern. And God, I mean, you have had an amazing career, working for MTV, Watch What Happens Live, and now The Tonight Show. And I just have so much that I want to chat with you about. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I guess we're going to wind up jumping all around, but I guess we'll start with Britney a little bit. How did you come up with the idea? What was the spark of inspiration behind the Britney podcast?
So the idea kind of came to me randomly. I was in a cab coming home from work and I texted Brad just these paragraphs and paragraphs of the idea. I mean, I essentially was like, oh my God, in a year from now, we should do this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. I just had this whole vision for it. I think it was something with the visuals of Times Square. I was just in a trance, Mm-hmm. I feel like ideas, just as a creative person, anyone listening probably knows, sometimes an idea just hits you. And so my thing is I always try and write it down immediately because it's like dreams. You have this crazy dream and then you forget it 5 hours later. And, her team is notorious for not honoring her legacy. So I was like, why don't we just do it? And that's what gave it life. And we started recording it in the summer to get it ready. And yeah.
What do you think is wrong with Britney's team that they keep mishandling the legacy?
Well, I mean, it's not just Britney. XTina's on that label. They didn't really do a good job with her. Normani is on that label. And we all know Motivation came out last year. It was iconic. It was huge. She had such a big moment at the VMAs and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a Britney specific issue. I think they need someone who is a fangirl to give them advice.
Right. You reference this a lot and you allude to this a lot, that if you were on her team, you would have a plethora of a real content strategy to roll out. I mean, if you were a consultant on her team, what kind of content or creative strategy would you employ with them?
Well, I'm not going to give that away, but but I think the easiest thing is music. I mean, we all know when you've been doing it for 20 something years, I mean, we stand Madonna and all these other major artists. I mean, look at what's happening with Prince. They're coming out with that massive collection that's coming out soon. I think how many songs is on that? I think it's in the dozens, and it's just recordings of his legacy. And I think that is the simplest one. Is there's so many demos and songs and remixes, and I'm sure there's tons of songs that just never made the cut. I think that's the easiest start. And we've always said too, Mood Ring, why was it never on, why did it take 4.5 years?
Cut to, we have 4 remixes in quarantine.
Yeah. What else? Trouble and all these other songs that were on iTunes exclusives. It's just so easy to just put it on streaming. It's simple things like that are no-brainers that I'm why is this not happening?
I mean, can we talk about how Britney has managed to stay relevant week after week in this quarantine without releasing any real new music? I guess did it start with the gym burning down that eventually turned into a whole thing? Then, just till 2 days ago, everyone at the LGBT community, which launched 1,000 memes. Does this just speak to the actual reason why she's so beloved? It's because she is just so authentic and non-pretentious.
She's always been that way. And I think there was a really good article in the New York Times a few weeks ago that was called, ironically, Celebrity Culture is Burning, just like Britney's gym. And she was sort of at the end of the article, she was the caboose of the article, basically saying she is one of the only celebrities that is coming through this whole thing unscathed, because
smelling
she's
like
always,
a rose.
Yeah, because she's never been, I guess, thirsty for the fame. But also I never thought that she was thirsty. Like even when she was in her prime in the beginning, like that huge fame rush, like she was cocky in the performance. She wasn't cocky in her personality and her attitude. She was cocky in like the product that she put out, which was music and performing and dancing, and never cared about the rest of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk about Glory going to number one 4 years after the release?
Finally.
I mean, obviously the biggest thing that's happened to her in years. Just laying dormant in a quarantine, and poof, this has been your life's mission, by Glory on iTunes, Justice for Glory.
Finally happened.
Why do you, do you know what has been behind these sort of stan groups which are sending Mariah? I guess Glitter may have been the first one that like shot up to number one. Then it was Britney. Then I think maybe Bionic went to number one. Bedtime Stories, the Madonna album from 94, went to number one. Are you aware of what is the culture behind it?
I think boredom. Like, it's also, there is new music, but it's not accompanied with much. So we have like a lot of these at-home performances. And I think now we're starting to see a little bit more amped up production from people. But through quarantine, everyone sort of stayed away and stepped back and couldn't be on award shows and couldn't perform live. And so fans are at home and they can do this stuff because people are on social media, and it's just easier because we're all kind of on a pause in life.
I mean, it's literally just clicking a button as opposed to like leaving your house, buying a ticket, which can cost well over $100, driving to a theater, seeing a whole show, like getting through that whole experience. It is a lot easier just to like buy something for like $2.99 and see what happens.
And iTunes did sales too. So it was like for $5 you could buy an album, and it doesn't take that many now to go number one. So
how many does it take now to go number one?
I think it's like in around like 100K.
Okay.
But it depends every single week.
Right. Something's not going to go to number one the week that Chromatica is coming out.
Right. Like someone sent me a screenshot of the sales for a week, and they were like, if it sells 20,000, talking about Glory, if it gets over 20,000, it'll break the Billboard Hot 200,
Damn.
which is like not that much compared to back in the day when they used to have millions on release week.
Do you think that NSYNC will take advantage of this time? Like, I can't think of anything smarter than for Justin Timberlake to get back with those guys right now, put something out really quick. They would make a killing.
I don't know if they're going to. Probably not.
I know that you are like a huge pop queen fan, but you don't really talk much about the boy bands of the day. Were you a Backstreet or an NSYNC fan?
Backstreet. Mm-hmm. I thought Howie was hot. Yeah. Still do. He aged the best. But I mean, I also know more of their music.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I wasn't involved in like the infighting. Like, I liked NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. I just happened to be drawn more to Backstreet Boys music. I liked Britney. I liked Christina. I never was like I'm going to pick sides kind of person during the MTV days. I wasn't like that crazy girl that was on Tiffany, who's a legend.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm a killer. I wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I just happened to like their album better.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of NSYNC stuff too.
Did you go to TRL back in the day? I mean, so you grew up in New Jersey. Did you like make the pilgrimage into the city and stand outside when Britney would go to TRL?
No, I never went until I moved here. And I moved here and I was able to go. And I actually went the day that Hilary Duff premiered With Love, the music video. So I was actually able to go and be in person.
Amazing. You were in the audience?
Yep.
Okay, very cool. So I know that you went to FIT and you studied digital design. How did you land the gig at MTV? And like, tell me like what your actual job was.
So I actually didn't go for digital design. I went for graphic design. And this was before. So I was like convinced that I was going to be a graphic designer and I wanted to work on concerts. Like that was my goal, was designing concert merch and tour visuals and music videos and backdrops and that whole thing. And when I got to FIT, it was very graphic design, but by the book graphic design. So like very much, typography, and I don't want to say boring because it's not the right word, but just like
technical.
Technical graphic design. So everything was about spacing and contrast and color, which was all great. But
Kerning.
There was never, kerning, tracking, layout.
My background is in design as well.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was much more of that. And it wasn't until like my junior, senior year that a couple of the professors were like, oh, there's website building and phones and things that need to be designed for an app. But then there was a lot of professors that wanted nothing to do with it, and they thought it was like not the future, which
good luck.
I don't know. Insert like clown noise here. No one, like my professors didn't take me seriously because I always wanted to do like pop magazines or design stuff that was colorful and like different and involved pop stars and whatever. But I landed my internship through a friend of mine that I was an RA with, who had a friend that worked at MTV, and was like, oh, let me introduce you to my friend. Maybe you can be one of his interns. And then that's how it all happened.
What were your nights like when you were a college student living here? Like, where were you hanging out, and like, what were you doing, like, for fun?
I was a lifeguard at Chelsea Piers 3 nights a week. And we would just like drink in the dorms and go to like, I had a fake ID, so we would get away with going to like local spots, but that's pretty much it.
Where was your dorm?
Well, I was on both of them, but it's in Chelsea. But I did 3 years on the 27th Street campus, which is like the main campus on 7th Ave.
Mm-hmm. And did you eventually go on to work for MTV?
So started out as an intern for Logo, worked on Drag Race, doing a lot of like production, kind of tedious. And then they knew that I was into design, so they just were like, hey, do you want to come down the hall and like work on this project? And it happened to be RuPaul's Drag Race season 3, the key art. They're like, do you want to work on mood boards and like this whole thing? And I was like, absolutely. And so a lot of the stuff that I did made it into the actual inspiration for the season 3 trailer. So like a lot of the scenes of Ru with like the backlight and like all this stuff were stuff that I'd put on a mood board that was all inspirations from pop star music videos. Like the one shot of Ru is literally like the same identical shot of Hilary Duff in the music video for Fly. It's like that backlit with the spotlight. Yeah.
Were you in the pit the night Kanye West grabbed the mic from Taylor Swift?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that experience like? Like where were you?
Iconic. I was on, if you're facing the stage, I was on the right side. So I don't know what the terminology is for that, like stage right or stage left.
Uh-huh.
So I was in the one pit with my friend Erica. And yeah, we saw the whole thing go down. And this is before like smartphone cameras, and they were really strict. Like if you show up with a phone or a camera, like you're not being let in. Like it was very, very, very different 10-ish years ago. There were no audience cameras. There was none of that stuff that you have now, where it's like the backstage camera, the hallway camera. Now it's just Big Brother. It feels like.
Well, it's very like sensation overload.
Yes.
The way those awards shows are produced now, it's too much.
Yeah. And I feel like celebrities now, well, we see it, they don't stay anymore. And I think that's a result of that, because you see like now celebrities they'll sit there for 5 minutes and then they leave because they know that there's 50 cameras and microphones on them. Like you can't even go and sit and watch the VMAs now as a celeb. You literally have a hot mic on you the whole time. Like that's not fun. Like who wants to have a hot mic on for 3.5 hours while you're trying to, like, do you know the video of Britney where she's jamming out to Rihanna?
Yes.
Yeah, like I got to see her, like I saw her jamming out live. So she stayed for that and then she left. And I was like, oh. But it was cool to see her in that moment just
watching it as a fan of Rihanna's. One of the most memorable, it's not a mic moment, but like when they, they clearly like position the camera on people who they want reactions from. One of my favorite ones of those was when it was the Madonna Britney Christina performance, and they cut to Justin Timberlake, and he knows that camera is right in his face, and he's just like, his mouth is like glued shut. Yeah. Or the shot of Kelly Osbourne and Avril Lavigne. Iconic. I honestly feel like that was the last time it was done right. Yeah. Because I feel like that was planned, but it wasn't like shoved in our faces like they do now. Like now it's like they constantly are going to the audience, like forcing a moment to happen. And I'm like, no, like let it happen naturally. I totally agree. I mean, like, do you think it's possible for the entertainment industry to kind of relax back into that type of vibe? Yeah, I believe it was the EMAs last year. Dua performed, and it's mostly, I would say, like 99% performance only shots. They had an amazing stage. Stunning. Halsey did a performance. Mabel performed Don't Call Me Up. And I felt like it was the first time where they actually like went back to an old school filming style of like, let's capture the performance and what's happening on stage, because it's choreographed to be filmed. Like I think of Beyonce when she did that medley at the VMAs. Amazing. Was the camera all over the place? No, the camera was on Beyonce, like it should be. I feel like that happened, and then from that moment on, it sort of went back in a way. Like they were trying to be like all gifs for a while, and then Beyonce happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's better when you film the actual performer performing." Let's keep doing that. And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." So speaking of gifs. So you started your Tumblr, Reality TV Gifts, at what point? Like, was this when you were interning or when you were working for MTV? So I interned, then I was a freelancer, and this is back when there were like freelance contracts. So they'd essentially hire you for like a project. So it'd be like 3 months, 9 months, whatever. And so I was just taking 3-month contracts and just jumping around different projects. So I was like VH1 ad sales, then I was MTV, then I was on shows. It's like this weird system. And I just started it because I was watching Mob Wives, and I was like, I want gifts to send. And so I just started it as a side hobby. And all most of my friends had left New York from college. So it was a hobby for me to do when I went home at night. And yeah. And how did you know that it was going viral? I guess we weren't calling it going viral, but how did you know that you had this huge following on there? I started using tags, and this is still when I was like anonymous on the internet. Like I didn't have my personal self out there. And Tumblr just has a really good way of it. Like you can explore through tags. Yeah, people just started finding my website and then sending me requests, and it just became a community online. And it just grew and grew and grew. And then people started tweeting about it, like housewives and stuff. And then that's when it kind of became bigger. Mm-hmm. And that is how it got the attention of the people at Watch What Happens Live? Yeah. Because that was like 90% of the content was housewives. And I started tweeting them, and they started noticing. And then people that I actually wound up working with later on at Watch What Happens Live were fans of my Tumblr. And 4 years, who I didn't know then, but they would soon be my coworkers at one point. And it just all came together. So how were you recruited for Watch What Happens Live? Like you just got an email one day? So I was invited to be a bartender in 2013, I think. They were like, do you want to be a bartender? And I had done, gifts of Watch What Happens Live, so they knew who I was. And I went and I was a bartender. And then I did this blog post that was a gift story about my experience. And I like went through, and they read it after, and they invited me back. And so I got to meet all the showrunners and the EPs and the head writer. And they're like, we read your
your post, and it was so sweet. And so they were like, we just want to keep in touch. And so I had kind of like an interview-ish type of meeting, like casual, and just told them like my thoughts and my ideas. And it wasn't until 3 years later that a job opening happened, and the head writer, Casey, at the time, she just shot me an email and was like, hey, this job opened up and I thought of you. What are you up to? Like, how are you doing? Are you still in the city? And that's how it happened.
You didn't apply?
No.
I mean, this must have been, at the time, your dream job, right?
1,000%.
And how did you originally get into Housewives? Like, was it New Jersey?
It was Jersey. It was the table flip.
Uh-huh.
I had seen Orange County because I really loved Project Runway. And we used to watch it in college because Fashion Institute, my friends loved it. So I loved Kathy Griffin, her show, My Life on the D-List, obsessed.
Same.
Project Runway. What else did I really love on Hey Paula? Like,
Yes.
like kind of like the pre-Housewives era of Bravo. I loved.
You know what I loved on Bravo? Workout.
That one was good too.
That was amazing.
I forgot that was on
And
Bravo.
people don't talk about it anymore. I
Right.
loved Sheer Genius also, where Tabitha came from.
Oh my God, Tabitha's show too.
Mhm.
There's like a whole era before Housewives that I'm now remembering. Also, NYC Prep,
Yep. Mhm.
iconic.
Blowout with Jonathan Anton, like having coke-fueled meltdowns every episode.
Yes. Yeah. So that was like my original. And then I'd seen Orange County, but I was not like hooked. And then when Jersey happened, I was like, oh, I have to check this out. Started Jersey. Then I moved on to the other ones.
And what, like all this time, like what's been your favorite franchise? Like, has it still remained Jersey?
Yeah. I feel like Jersey is my favorite. I mean, I love New York, obviously. But I would say Jersey for me, even though it had like its lull and like it had a pause for a hot second there, I just feel like it's always been consistent for me. Yeah.
Your time working for Watch What Happens Live, like tell me like what were your job roles there? And like talk about like projects that you're most proud of during that time.
So I wore like 10 different hats. So I was a digital producer. So anything digital and social, I was sort of the lead on. So all of the YouTube clips, all the clips from Watch What Happens Live that you see on BravoTV.com that go live overnight, all the social media accounts, that was me. So watching the show, picking press moments, picking the highlights, titling them, writing the descriptions, uploading them through all the back end process. It's like, you guys would think it's just a save and post. It's not. It is a whole lengthy process that has to go through like all these different things. So scheduling everything, getting it on the website, scheduling all the tweets, getting all the questions from fans. And yeah, we did, like when we went to LA, we did the fan contests, and the Facebook Messenger bot was one of my big projects that I loved. So you can actually send questions in to the Walkabot. I mean, LA was a highlight. Getting fans tickets and giving them like a front row experience was, I think, my highlight.
You are in that video with, I think like Paris Hilton had done a bit, and
Yeah.
did you help like produce that bit, or were you just happen to be sitting there in the shot?
I worked with my coworkers. We all sort of produced it together, and I edited the final project. So like my coworker filmed it, my other coworker, Michael, directed it kind of, because she clicked with him like really well. So I was like, you need to direct this. And then I put together the piece into like a little mini episode. Yeah, that is another highlight.
What was your relationship, or what is your relationship with Andy like? I remember when the Britney podcast started, he had you as a guest on his Sirius show. So like you clearly had like a great relationship with him.
Yeah. I mean, he knew all of my stuff when I was just tweeting GIFs and was a fangirl. And I mean, I've said this before, he was such a role model for me as like someone who was just authentically himself. And he was given this opportunity to have a show, and you got to see it. I mean, we all saw it transform over 10 years. Oh, the 10-year anniversary is another highlight that I got to be a part of.
What did you do for that?
Just like celebrating it and coming up with all the digital content that looked back on all of the iconic moments. Because I remember when Watch What Happens Live debuted, and I watched the first episode live. So for him to kind of take me under his wing and trust me with, I mean, being the front-facing voice of his show on digital is huge. Like, that's a huge responsibility. It's a lot of trust. And I did not take it for granted. I took it very seriously. And I was like, my first year, he would joke, he'd be like, you were so quiet your first year. I was like, yeah, because I came here to like prove that I can do this. And I'm not here just to take pictures with celebrities and, you know, try and, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, that's all cool, but like, I'm here to do a job and I take it really seriously. And yeah.
She's professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who were the most iconic guests that you got to kind of like see? I mean, you must have been there when Gaga was there promoting Art Pop, right?
No, that was before me.
Oh, damn. So like, who were the big people that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe they're coming through?
Mariah. I was there for all three. So like, that was just legendary. And like, she remembered my coworker, my teammate at the time. She had a moment with him where she recognized his necklace. Like, she complimented his necklace, and he was wearing it the second time that she came back, and she remembered him. She also like looked at me like she kind of recognized me, but I don't know. And she called me out for almost taking a picture on her bad side.
What did she say?
She was like, darling, you're on the wrong side. and then like everyone was laughing. She started laughing. Yeah.
Amazing. So cut to like, you walk me through the process of your eventual decision to leave Watch What Happens Live.
So again, like all of my experiences in my entire career, which I always tell everyone, like, you can only plan so much. And I feel like my entire career, I was always trying to plan everything, but everything that came my way, every opportunity that was presented was out of nowhere. So Watch What Happens Live, out of nowhere. The Tonight Show, they were looking for a new lead. And obviously Jimmy and Andy are friends. And so that was part of it too. Like, there was a conversation there. And I just thought, like, I want to challenge myself. I feel like it's always important to challenge yourself.
Well, I guess actually the piece that we didn't bring up, that's a huge piece that I think to kind of like flesh out this picture, is that between the time that you had started Watch What Happens Live and the time that you left, you created a very strong personal brand for yourself. The YouTube channel, which has like a couple thousand subscribers, which you were uploading videos every single week. You were doing the weekend chats. Then you started the podcast, the Britney podcast, and which would eventually, you would roll it into Legends Only. So how much of that, like, where were you thinking, like, cut to like when you were in your fourth year at Watch What Happens Live, like at that point, like what were your goals?
So I kind of had a moment after BravoCon where I did BravoCon, and again, I worked like 10 different hats, What
did you do for BravoCon?
So I was actually there on site. So I was doing a little bit of talent wrangling, digital content, social content, all the clips. I actually did the commercial for BravoCon, like that big Watch What Happens Live special. That was like a minute commercial of like that gigantic show that we had.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to put together a commercial.
I was there. I was in the little pit area.
Legendary. There's so much.
Were you there? I mean, you must have seen like during every single commercial, people, including myself, would rush the stage and like Tamra, like nosedive into the crowd. Yes. Like they were out of control.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So I put together, like I was able to edit the commercials that were broadcast on TV and on Instagram and on social. And after BravoCon, I just kind of felt like I had done so much. I had done LA twice. I had done this massive convention. I'd done social, YouTube, the whole thing. And so when the opportunity came for The Tonight Show, the one thing that I really was attracted to was the music side of it, because there's so many iconic, like amazing performances that happened on that show. And I just thought, like, I want to learn more. I want to experience more. I want to break out of my comfort zone, because I really was comfortable at Watch What Happens Live. I had, I had that it down pat. Like I could do my job asleep at that point, because it was, well, not asleep. You know what I mean?
You were in a real rhythm.
Yeah, and The Tonight Show is such an iconic show. It's been on air for a very, very, very long time and has such a history. And I thought, if I can tackle that challenge, then I can probably do anything. And so that's kind of what led me to that decision. Like, it wasn't anything like negative where I was like, peace, I'm out. It was like, I'm scared of this challenge, but I want a challenge. Let's see if I can do this. Like, how far can I go? And yeah.
Is your dream still to work on a huge artist's stage show and with merch? Like, is that still the dream?
I think so. Yeah. And I'm closer to it now, which is exciting. Like, I mean, obviously now we're in COVID and we're not in the office, but one of my like office mates that's in my little section, she actually does the art direction and the production design for the artists. So I actually, ironically, like I got to sit next to a woman who does and builds all the sets. This
is for when they're performing on The Tonight Show?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
So some artists will be like, I have this vision. Can you make this happen? And so they'll design the lighting, the sets.
Similar to how they do on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. So like one of the things she got to do was she designed Doja Cat's performance for Say So, with like all the mirrors and the lights. And I got to see like the package and the costume designs and like all the sketches and stuff. And I was like, this is such a encapsulation of what I did in college, which was like rendering, art, fashion, and what I always wanted to do, which was like set design, visuals, creating that experience. And so it was just like a full 360 circle moment.
I really want to go deep, and I'm very, very curious to hear from you how it has been. Basically, you were working there maybe like 3 months or so when everything drastically changed.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, kind of like go back to like the middle of March 2020 and walk me through like the communications that you were getting from like, I guess the head of the Tonight Show or NBC, and how has your job changed? And also just like talk about how there are now, just to talk about the different stressors that have presented themselves.
Yeah. So when the whole coronavirus thing started happening in other parts of the world, I admittedly and like quietly was more concerned than most people. I started my stock like end of January and was just kind of bracing for something to happen. I didn't know what, but I was Brad knew, because Brad came over to record the podcast every week. And so he'd be like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm just whatever, like, leave me alone. And then it started getting worse and worse. And so I actually, like, a week before we got sent home, I started prepping my team, because I have a bigger team now that I manage. And so I was like, hey guys, like, just make sure you are set up to work from home. I don't want to scare anyone, but like, just check for me and let me know if you're good. And yeah. And then on Thursday, March 12th, it was, we were recording with Mandy Moore. We had no audience. They pulled the audience. And then everyone was just thinking, we're going to keep doing this with no audience and be fine. End of day Thursday, they're like, the show tomorrow is canceled. Everyone go home. We'll try and figure this out. Like, it was cold stop, like boom, like lights off, like you saw with Broadway, everything. It just was boom. It just March 13th, Friday, March 13th, ironically, a March 13th or Friday the 13th was when the brakes were hit.
Did they know that did Jimmy know that he was going to go out to the Hamptons and try to like produce and film a show out there?
No, it all came together really quick. I remember like that Thursday night, he came around to the people who were still there because some people were working from home that week, and was just like, hey, everyone, like, don't worry about, just go home, be safe. We want you to be safe and feel comfortable. Like, he was super, super, super kind and like caring about everyone. Like, if you're just go home, like everyone go home, we'll figure this out later. And then that's when the next week we just kind of started experimenting and just kind of making these like YouTube videos that were vlog style, like at home when he was with his family. And then it just snowballed into this new show. It's like, it's a new show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it all just sort of happened spontaneously.
And what kind of stressors have revealed themselves to you, like in this time? Like working, you're used to working in a television studio. Now suddenly you're working from home on these like major shows. How has that been for you personally?
Well, technology is the number one thing. I mean, we're doing this now over Skype, which even like doing my podcast, and I'm sure like if you're doing anything technology related remotely, there's always a possibility that your internet could go out and we would get disconnected. And, when you're in a studio with cameras and everything is hardwired, your only worry is just that the power is on, But like even recording the podcast with Bradley, like with my mic and stuff, it just requires 2 AA batteries and that's it. Now there's your phone, there's electricity, your internet, everything has to kind of be working, and you have to send all these files remotely. So that just takes so much time. It's like, there's just so many factors and like things that you have to pray are working.
Yeah.
Whereas before you could just, oh, here's the hard drive, take it, upload, you know? Now it's like, upload a Dropbox, 4 hours remaining, and you're like, okay, cool.
Going back to Bravo, how have you seen, I'm curious from your perspective, like being on the inside and now you're now you're on the outside looking in again. How have you seen it change over the years? You were saying on your show the other week that just like Bravo's not what it used to be. Like the shows just aren't what they used to be. Like, can you kind of like talk to that?
Well, that's a thing with reality TV in general. And even before, we were talking about the VMAs and how TV now, music, movies, like celebrities don't need to do award shows anymore because they could throw a concert at home and stream it on YouTube. With reality TV, you don't need to be on a reality show to be to be famous. You could be famous for being an Instagram influencer or a YouTuber. So reality TV is not what it was 10 years ago because of how technology and how social has changed. So when I say like Bravo isn't the same, it's across the board. Like Real World on MTV is gone. It's just, you can't have a show like that on anymore because it just doesn't work.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Exactly. And we all know, like, you hear about things that happen on reality shows in the press before it airs. So you hear about what happened at the reunion because someone leaked it, or you hear about a fight that happened at a restaurant because there was someone in the restaurant watching it happen or like filming it with their phone.
Right.
So it's not that, Bravo made a mistake and like ruined their, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that our world and technology has changed. And so ultimately that is reflective of the programming.
What were the formative Real World seasons for you growing up?
I think my favorite was Chicago.
Ooh, good one. With Karamo?
Yeah. And Anissa.
Yes. Queen Anissa.
And also Back to New York with Coral, Mike. That was like when I was in the thick of it. Like I would watch every single week. Laguna Beach was like my shit. Yeah.
And like, what are you watching now? Like, I know that you're big on Selling Sunset.
Oh my God, Selling Sunset's so good.
Like, tell me why you love it so much.
Okay, so there's multiple reasons, and I gave this feedback like back yonder, but back in the day, like speaking of Real World and Laguna Beach, those were 30-minute shows. So there was no filler. And Selling Sunset is exactly that same formula. It is the storylines. There is no filler. It is like, this is what's happening. This is the drama with the boyfriend or the friend drama. And that's it. You know, it's like if there's drama about the engagement party, all you're seeing is the drama about the engagement party. Now, I feel like reality shows are expanded into these hour-long episodes, and there's filler, there's scenes where it's like you can tell it's a movie commercial, like that scene like in New York
yes.
with Dorinda and Sonia.
What the fuck movie was that?
I forget.
Yeah.
But it's like, and like even with Drag Race too, it's like it's like product integration.
It's all like SponCon.
Yeah, and so that just is filler, and I'm like, and I kept saying it I was like, go back to doing 12 episodes a season. Like the early Jersey, season 1, 8 episodes. The drama was the book. Like season 1 Jersey, the drama was the book. Season 2 was Dina leaving Caroline versus Danielle. Boom. Like every season had a singular storyline that had a climax and like a resolution. And Selling Sunset is that exact same thing. It's like the 2 seasons are super short. You can watch them in 4 hours each. There's a drama, there's a storyline, and an end. And a little bit of a cliffhanger for the next season. So like next season 3 is, I don't want to spoil it, but
no, I already talked about on here how
perf.
What's her name with the breakup
Rochelle.
with Justin Hartley. Yeah.
And like at least for me, I think that is perfect. Like that's the way to do it. I hate the filler stuff. I get it because, you know, they want to have the show go on for like whatever, but like there was one season of, was it like OC or New York where there were 28 episodes in the season?
I think that was OC.
Yeah. 28 times 1 hour is 28 hours. Like we're busy. We're all busy. Like
land the plane.
Right. And I feel like you can't get, like looking back at that season, I'm like, well, what was memorable about that? You can't pick something because there's too much to pull from. But like Real World, you can pull like what was the storyline. Jersey, New York, like the early seasons, you can be like, this was the story arc. And I feel like that is what's missing now. And I feel like as we move into streaming, that people can do that more. Like Selling Sunset doesn't have to worry about making ads off of commercials because they're on Netflix. So boom.
Do you now? I heard a rumor that you no longer, or you're not really up on Housewives these days. I mean, the rumors from you. You told me
that is true.
So, like, tell me, is it just because you need it? Like, you OD'd on Bravo?
Yeah, it's a little bit of like OD, and also too like I have been really into like gaming and other things like in my personal like, and so I've just been using time to explore new things because I always feel like you can always go back and watch a show, right? Like
totally.
I can always go back and binge watch a season of something, but like I can't always, you know, it's nice out. You can't always go for an adventure. You know what I'm saying? Like other things that I can binge watch and catch up later is kind of where I'm at. Like, and also too, my new job is extremely intensive, and I honestly with the new job just don't have time.
Yeah.
So,
and also with at Watch What Happens Live, you were required in a lot of ways to like you had to be up on everything.
No, like literally that is a job requirement. Like you, it's Housewives and also Vanderpump, which I broke that rule. I never watched Vanderpump, but really? But you are required to know and watch Housewives. So it was part of my day. Like I watched it while I was at the office. Which sounds glamorous, but like you're at the office for 14 hours. So like, you know.
Can we talk about your Gaga journey?
Gaga?
Yeah. Your Gaga journey. Like I know that.
My Stephanie.
You're Stephanie Germanato. Now, you did finally like become, you were a little bit more forthcoming when you guys did your deep dive on Chromatica. You did like the whole album review, but walk me through this. You originally started out as a true little monster.
Oh, 1,000%.
And then what happened?
So I started out full little monster. This is before she blew up. So a friend of mine, who's actually the same friend that got me my internship at MTV, she's a dancer. So she was very much in the world of dance music and stuff. And so Just Dance had come out in the UK, I think, first. So she got it from a friend and they were using it in a routine. And she's like, oh my God, there's this artist. Her name's Lady Gaga. And I'm like, oh, like, what is this? Loved it. And she's like, she's coming to New York to do Terminal 5. Do you want to go? And I'm like, hell yeah. So we went to Terminal 5 to see the Fame Ball. And this is bubble dress, bubble piano. And it is still to this day one of the best concerts.
The disco stick, the whole night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw that show at the 930 Club in DC.
Nice.
So it was like teeny venue. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super tiny. And this is, I believe when she did New York, Just Dance had like, it had just gone platinum or something. They presented her with our golds, maybe. They presented her with the award at the concert and she started crying. And I felt like it was this underground artist who was about to take off. And it was just so cool being a part of that. And like I have her in I have like it's called Pretties, but it's all like celebrity photos. I have like, it's basically like my Legends binder, but a digital version.
Got it. Okay.
I was obsessed, and like people were mocking her in the beginning, like when she was doing the leotards and stuff, like, and she was on TRL with the Jonas Brothers, and everyone was just kind of like, who is this? Like, what is this like going on? And then a couple months go by and she's massive. So yeah, I was there in the beginning when she like did the New Now Next Awards and Fire Island, like those photos from Fire Island. She performed there. Like, it just felt like so underground and so New York. And yeah.
So where did it go wrong for you?
I think it went wrong with it. I remember the Alejandro premiere, like that 10-minute long video.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I mean, you're a Madonna mega fan, so I'm curious if you felt the same way.
So Madonna's my number one, and I have to say Gaga is like my number two.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I remember watching the Alejandro video, and I was kind of like, I felt like she was knocking on Madonna. Like, I felt like a little bit of a copy of the Madonna video.
Of what? Of what video?
Express Yourself.
Oh, you know, the Express Yourself video, it's actually based on this movie, this silent movie from, I think, like the 20s. What's the name of it? Metropolis, I think. Yeah, the whole video was based on like this futuristic, like dystopian future. Yeah, it's a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox.
Exactly. What? Yeah. I mean, as most everything in life is now. But I was just kind of like, okay. And then, I don't know. I just felt like she was taking herself too seriously, maybe. And I just kind of felt disconnected from it. Like, I felt like, oh. And then, like, when I saw the Monster Ball, the first leg of it, it just felt really disjointed visually. Like, it just was all over the place. And coming from the Fame Ball, which was so focused, where it was like every outfit was a piece of art. I mean, every look was art. And then I felt like with the Monster Ball, it was, the outfit was art, and then every dancer was art, and then the visuals were an entirely different music video, and then the interludes were like this whole, and I found myself just not able to focus.
Sensation overload.
Yes, it was total sensation overload. And I was like, what? I just remember sitting there and I was like, what is this? And I felt disappointed because I felt like I couldn't enjoy all of it because it was too much. And I felt like maybe that was it. Like, I was just like, I don't know what I'm getting now because it just felt like too much, too over the top. And the tickets were like way more expensive. And I just kind of felt like, I don't know, in a little bit of a way, I was kind of like, do you need to do all of this and charge $250 now? you did this other concert for like $25 and it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Like, it just felt weird. I don't know.
Do you think that
if that makes sense?
No, it absolutely makes sense. Do you think that there is something psychologically with people like you and I where you probably felt like you discovered Lady Gaga, right? In some piece of you felt that way, like back in the day when you saw those pictures from Fire Island, or you saw her at the New Now Next Awards. There was part of you that was claiming her in a way, right?
A little bit. And she also, there was a speech that she gave at the Fame Ball tour where she herself, she gave a speech and she was like, I just want you all to know that my focus is music and I will never she made a comment and it was like, I will never become an artist who charges you hundreds of dollars for a concert because this is about the music for me. Like, she actually said it herself. Mm-hmm. And I think looking back, hearing her say that at Terminal 5 and seeing her crying and having this experience and then becoming this like overly produced pop star that is charging hundreds of dollars, I was like, I felt like she lied. I was like, what happened? You know? And so it wasn't like I hated her. I just kind of was like, oh, you know, she's just like everyone else now. You know, it felt like.
So that was kind of what I was getting at, was that I think that there's the psychology of a fan is that, and actually, you know who wrote about this so well in her book? Carrie Brownstein wrote about this in her memoir, sort of like how it feels to be a fan. And I've had this experience, like you feel like you discover someone, and then when other people find out about that person, it feels like a betrayal.
Right.
And so the fan turns on the artist.
Yeah.
You know, when they start charging hundreds of dollars for the shows.
But then it's also like, I think about Madonna, and when I got to see Madonna, I spent $500 to see her.
Which show did you see?
MDNA tour.
And what did you think?
I thought it was phenomenal. And I was like, I did not even hesitate on the price because I was like, this is someone who is the reason for all these other girls today. And I'm like, this is an actual like pop music. She is the queen to me. Like she is the crown that paved the way. So like, I never hesitated with that because I'm like, you are the reason why I get to come to Madison Square Garden and see Britney and all of these other artists. Like, you are the reason. So like, that made sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, Madonna will always, as long as she is on this earth, she is the number one. It's just the way it is. When she's no longer on this earth, then we can start talking about some of the other artists. Like, but it's just the way it is. Like, there's no, like, you can't talk about it. You can't justify it. It's just fact.
Yeah.
You know? So you just talked about concerts. Like, and I know you discussed this a little bit in the Britney podcast. Like, do you still stand that Circus is her best show?
Well, that was the first time I saw her, so I can't speak to the earlier ones, which is so disappointing to me because I feel like Dream Within a Dream probably would be my favorite if I had gotten to go. Also, I had tickets to Onyx before she hurt her knee. So just from my experience, from my own attendance, Circus Tour was number one for me. Also, too, like I was in college at the time, and so it was such an inspiration in terms of branding and graphic design, and it was so cohesive, and the merch was so good. The tour book is phenomenal. Just all of it was like a package, like just everything. Yeah, and Femme Fatale was good too, but it wasn't as cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that she will ever resume a Vegas residency?
No, I don't think so. I don't think she wants to.
I mean, I know what your personal like hopes and dreams would be for her, but what do you think the reality will actually be? Like, do you see her like getting in the recording studio and actually putting out a new long album, 12 songs?
I could see her doing more music. I think she's done performing. Because, like, the last leg of the Piece of Me World Tour, I felt like And I think we said this on the podcast. I was like, this is a workout for her.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, like
Yeah.
she is working out. And I'm like how I go on my walks in Central Park for exercise and people go to the gym or like they do CrossFit or like whatever it is that they do. Britney goes on stage. Like I was like, she's getting her workout in. And she's just chill, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a job. Like that's how she views it. And she's like, it's a job and I get to work out. Cool. Great. So I don't see her doing another tour, but I mean, the way that this year has gone, who knows?
Yeah.
Can't predict anything.
You know, I do this thing on Hot Takes where I have, somebody who's like the number one Gaga fan that I know. I did this with Madonna, Britney. I did record one with my friend about Christina where we go head to head ranking our top 10 songs and we debate the songs. We literally go number 10 to number 1. So I thought we can do like a little mini version of that. I'm curious, like give me your top 3 like Britney, Christina, and Gaga songs.
Okay, so Britney is Give Me More, Breathe on Me, and Born to Make You Happy. That's easy. Like point blank, there's not even a 4th song that even creeps into that at all. No. Yeah, that's it. Like Give Me More, Breathe on Me, Born to Make You Happy. I feel like encapsulates all of Britney in a trio. Like it's got the light poppy cute with the dance and then the sexy. Like it's all, to me, that sums up Britney. Christina, ooh, that one's tough. Because Stripped has like such a,
I know. When I was like completing my list, like at one point there were 7 songs from Stripped. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't just like put all of Stripped on there.
I feel like, and this is probably random, I mean, Dirty is going to be in there because that sums up an era that is like legendary. I feel like Soar from
Ooh.
Stripped is in there because I just have like I have like a personal, like such a deep personal moment with that. And then, ooh, what would a third be? I mean, maybe
like glam.
No, I would maybe say Not Myself Tonight. Yeah. Cause like again, like Bionic had such a moment for me too. And that is like the cornerstone of Bionic.
It is crazy
that
that Bionic is getting this second life 10 years
Yeah.
later. Like in
Finally.
a real way. I mean, did you see those Instagram filters that where you can like make half your face the Bionic fit? Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they were so good.
Oh, it was amazing.
It like actually was ahead of its time. And I say that with like the least amount of sarcasm ever.
And top 3 Gaga.
Ooh. I mean, that's with Chromatica. 1,000 Doves is like up there for me. I also really love Gypsy a lot.
It's amazing.
I love Dance in the Dark, which I feel like they all that one's tough. I also love Fame. The Fame, yeah. I don't know. That one's tricky.
You know what Gaga song I love? I love Disco Heaven, and I love the Gaga songs I love that are like no one even knows these exist. I love Disco Heaven, which is like a bonus track off the Fame.
Mm.
I love I Like It Rough.
That one's good too.
I love it. People like nobody knows the song exists. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I also love Heavy Metal Lover. So that one, it might be 1,000 Doves, which I know that's kind of premature to say because it's so new. But like Chromatica is so me. It is like house, 90s, dance, pop. It's just like so my favorite type of sound. And I like actually, I was even thinking at the beginning of the year because there was a song by Jax Jones that came out that sampled a 90s house song. And I was like, wouldn't it be so cool if someone did a new album of like Sandstorm and all of those like iconic house beats, but like to new music? And then Chromatica came out. So I feel like 1,000 Doves, Heavy Metal Lover, and Gypsy.
Very strong. I love it. Kyle, this has been so fun. I feel like I really got to bond. I mean, like, we have our little DM relationship, but I'm so happy to like actually like spend time with you. Tell everyone, you know, where they can find you and listen to your vocal stylings.
Oh yeah, so we Legends Only on any podcast platform. We're like across the board. There's also the Britney podcast as well. And then I am on Instagram, T.Kyle, and then Twitter, T.Kyle Mac.
When did you decide, or how did you decide that you were really going to just be T.Kyle, you know, just be Beyonce with your with your name?
It was like a few years into working at MTV when I because I feel like in the beginning of my career, I was like, I don't want anything that I've done on the internet to possibly affect, not that I was doing anything problematic, but I was like tweeting about pop stars and stuff. And I wasn't taken seriously in college by my professors who were like, you know, you're supposed to look up to them. They're supposed to be mentors. So I felt like, oh, if anyone finds my YouTube channel, if anyone found my Twitter, they would be like, we're not hiring him. Little did I know that like Tumblr and all of these things would actually lead to me having a career. So once I kind of had a foot in the door, like a solid 2 legs in the door, I was like, okay, like I can be me now. And then it all just kind of snowballed from there.
So what is your actual, what is the T?
Timothy.
Ah, Timothy. Okay.
Yeah. But I've never gone by it ever. So I've always gone by T.Kyle, like literally since kindergarten.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that, but like,
I love it. This has been so fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was fun.
All right. I'll chat with you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.